Let's welcome Phil Purcell.
Thank you so much, Randy, and thanks to everyone for coming this morning. So let's jump right in. What we're going to do is talk about harvesting gifts. We're going to talk about the current context, strategic planning, case for support, fundraising pyramid. So these are topics of setting the stage that I think are so important. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I think it's important to do so. And then we'll jump into harvesting planned gifts, then the fundraising cycle and some tips, and then harvesting non-cash gifts, and then our panel discussion. So that's our plan of attack. I do not need to tell you how challenging the economy is and what that has meant for all our organizations. You know, we have reduced budgets, and our donors too have reduced resources available to make gifts, but it's opened a lot of doors, and we're doing more with less. But that means we need to be smart about what we do. But I can assure you that probably everyone in this room is like me. I like to see myself as a cup half full kind of person. And in fundraising, I feel like I can really exercise, I can really implement that philosophy of life. And I think you are doing what you do because you are that way too. It's not that you're not aware of problems and challenges and all sorts of issues, but we're here to make a difference. The cup is half full. So in this challenging time, both for our organizations and our donors, the idea is looking for opportunity. And in fundraising, it's looking for opportunity maybe in new and different ways that you didn't before. So non-cash gifts, planned gifts from an estate where it doesn't represent a current outlay of dollars, or access to dollars from gifts or assets that you may have not, or donors may have not thought of before. These are all new opportunities that you need to get your head around so that you can help articulate and explain these ideas to your board of directors, your executive leadership, but most importantly to your donors. So let's jump in. You know, I think that to be successful in fundraising in general, but most especially for what we call planned gifts, and we'll talk about a definition of planned gift in a minute, but for endowment building, planned gifts, even non-cash gifts, you have to convince your friends, those who are interested in you, those who might be inclined to be interested in you, that you're moving in the right direction, that you've got your act together, that you've got a strategic plan, you're implementing that plan, and that you are effective in doing so. It is, at some level, irrelevant that your needs are great. We get it. In fact, for many donors, many supporters, the fact that your needs are great is what compels them to want to help you. We cannot be embarrassed by what the needs are, or by the fact that your budget is low, or that you don't have beautiful palatial offices, right? You know, it's really about, do you have a rational, logical, strategic plan of attack for accomplishing the mission that you have in front of you? That is what you have to get together, and that's what you have to articulate to your donors. And the more effective you are with that kind of vision and plan, the better you're going to be at all forms of fundraising, but most especially planned endowment, non-cash type gifts. Why? Because you're asking for sometimes the most committed type of gift from a donor. And so they need to know if they're going to invest in you, if they're going to do something other than write a $10 or give you $10 out of their pocketbook or write a check for $100, if they're going to do something big with you, that's an investment. And as we all know, we want to only invest in good investments that generate good return over the long haul, right? And so, are you a good investment? That's what you have to convince your donors and your supporters, right? And so your strategic plan is how you do that. And so the role of your executive leadership and board of directors, that good governance is where it all begins. You've got to have a dynamic process, a strategic plan that's not collecting dust in a closet somewhere, but something that is generating year to year. It could be a long-range kind of plan, but year to year, evaluated, implemented, tracked, metrics for performance, all those kinds of good things. Case statements are important. We're going to talk about those, and it's essential for fundraising success. As I said, you can't read this, I realize, but it says, I'd like to open today's meeting with a review of our current brand promise, world-class excellence, And there they are, sitting on those boxes and the cracked walls and the paint peeling. But again, my point is, the fact that you have needs, you use it to your advantage. You have needs, and it's those needs that are driving your good planning that is why you're now going to donors to ask for their support. So your board and executive leadership are responsible for the planning in association with community leaders, staff, and others as appropriate, and create a strategic ongoing evaluation of progress on that strategic plan. The best strategic planning exercise I've ever been a part of was when I was at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, a small private engineering school in Indiana. And I was there for about 10 years, during which time the president and his leadership team, who he had on board with him for over 20 years, the same leadership team. And before they kind of started in, Rose was kind of a well-respected Midwest engineering school. Fast forward 25 years, by the time they were done, it's now ranked the #1 private engineering school baccalaureate level in the country. And that didn't happen by accident. That happened, it had great fundraising success, but the fundraising success started with an amazing strategic plan. And what they did, they went to the Lilly Endowment, and they had the endowment, private foundation, fund a 2-year process of planning. And they had breakout committees, groups, task forces on various identified subject areas, building infrastructure, laboratories, emerging technology, scholarships, resource development, fundraising, other topics. And they convened these committees, and they just didn't invite the folks closest to them. They invited folks who were not alumni as well, or corporate leaders, foundation representatives, faculty from other schools, whoever they thought constituents ought to be. And those task forces came up with recommendations. They were vetted, they were kind of refined and gleaned, but then those recommendations then came together to form the strategic plan for the organization. And then, of course, that strategic plan, in a sense, became the menu for our fundraising campaign, which followed that strategic plan process. And we went to donors to say, we have thought very carefully about the future of this place. This is where we want to go with this organization. These are well thought out plans put together by the leaders in this field. Would you join us in this effort? And you know what? They did. And we raised a ton of money, and they built all new buildings and all new labs and funded lots of scholarships and became the #1 private engineering college baccalaureate level in the country. And I stress baccalaureate level, so we're not competing with MIT, okay? So there you have it, Now that's kind of like, to borrow a phrase, the Cadillac version of strategic planning. Take that flow, that concept, and apply it to you. Do you pull in other observers? Do you put together a strategic plan? Is it well thought out? Do you have a vision for the future? Do you write it down? And then, most importantly, do you share it with potential donors to engage them, to get their feedback, and invite them to help you with that, depending upon their interests as well? So, again, just some thoughts on how important that is. So, I like pyramids, and the strategic process starts, of course, with the mission of your organization. That's a board responsibility at top, and then goals that seek to serve that mission, a shared responsibility of board and staff, objectives that are implemented, and then budget, work plans, timeline at the base of the pyramid to implement those objectives. Now, look, there are many sizes and types of organizations. Some organizations have no staff. Do we have any organizations represented here that are all volunteer driven? Yeah, we have a couple, 3. Yeah, right. So when I say board staff, I just put the word volunteers in there, and you, right. But the point is still the same. That is, you can be a part of the evolutionary process and get to a point where you have staff and can demarcate the difference between at board level, and the dream is at board level policy, mission, generally goals, at staff level implementation. But, if you're a grassroots organization, you're all volunteer, you still have to go through this same process. And everything we do drives towards fulfillment of mission. The strategic plan, you have actually a year-to-year operational plan. It could be distinguished from that or incorporate that. Goals can be related to board committees and implemented, those kinds of good ideas. I want to shift, though, from the strategic plan process and go talk more specifically about the case for support. Because once you have a good strategic plan, now you've got to articulate these ideas and concepts to your supporters, to win their support. Here's another cartoon. Perhaps our strategic plan should not have included the phrase, "If you build it, they will come." And there's a football stadium here, and there are spider webs because they built the stadium and nobody's sitting in those seats. You know, at some level, I am a build it, they will come kind of guy. If I think you've got a compelling mission and so forth, I kind of believe in that. But I think to be a true build it, they will come philosophy, you've got to get your ducks in a row. You've got to get your strategic plan together. You've got to have a compelling mission. You've got to have it vetted by key people, key resources. And I can't stress enough how helpful the Community Foundation staff, the Johnson Center staff can be in helping you think through how you're putting this kind of stuff together. Get sounding boards from people outside your organization. But if you get it together and then you build it, it's quite possible and effective that they will come. Your case for support. There he is arguing in front of the jury, the vision my mom had for me, when I went to law school. And I just told her, look, I'm still an advocate. And in fact, I'm hereby anointing all of you lawyer advocates on behalf of your organization, right? We are advocates. We have to be. We are challenging our donors to do the right thing, to step up and help you be successful. And so your case for support is all about connecting the dots in the minds of your donors. And if you don't do this effectively, you are not going to be successful with planned giving. I guarantee it. You will not be successful in building endowments and other kinds of fundraising activities. You've got to connect the dots in the minds of your donors through your articulation of your case. Now you're saying, well, what dots am I trying to connect? Well, first of all, you've got the donors' gifts. Their hard-earned money. You want to show them that their money coming to you to pay for effective and efficient programs and services in fulfillment of your mission will do what? Meet documented needs serving your community, however you define community. What's the final dot that needs to be connected here? Fulfilling donor intent. Serving others, leaving a legacy, paying back, paying forward, building community, an act of faith, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, So you've come around back. All those dots are connected, the donor's gift to you and then coming back to the donor in terms of these motives that our donors have. And we don't always know what motivates our folks to support us sometimes. It could be a mesh of all these concepts. But you've got to do this as you talk about your organization and state your case for support, or you will not be successful in planned giving. There are different types of case statements. You can have general support or campaign case statements just for your organization. You can have a capital campaign to build a building. Project campaigns, you need to fund a program or a project to get something done. You want to build a new endowment or add your endowment to get to a certain level. You can have a campaign for that. And by campaign, what I'm talking about here is a fundraising initiative that's above and beyond your normal year-to-year stuff. Are you with me? And so a campaign can be a short period of time, 2 to 3 years. It can be a longer period of time, maybe 5. You can have a campaign for unrestricted support, planned giving campaign, and so forth. But you can have a specific case statement for each and every type of campaign that you have here. So, and by case statement, there are lots of important things you can include in it. And to give you an idea, I think, of how case statements don't have to be long and involved, the point is to be concise and simple. We all know and learned from grade school Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, right? Think of those words 77 years ago. As I read that brief speech, I think of that as a case statement. What was Abraham Lincoln stating the case for? The existence of this country, the reason we were fighting in that war, the reason for the loss of all those valuable lives. And he did it in such a concise and inspirational and meaningful way. But types of things you'd include: history of your organization, define the problems and opportunity, propose solutions, explain your unique role, detail the costs of whatever it is you're raising money for, maybe give a brief overview of your fundraising plan, your goals, types of gifts that are available, and then who's on board, who's your board of directors, key staff, and volunteers. So you have to have a case with style, not style over substance, but style with and for substance. So there's Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. So you see, I think in a few short words, you can state the case for planned gifts, for endowments, for whatever needs you have, and you can make it happen. Okay, now I want to shift gears and talk about the fundraising pyramid and jump into planned gifts. Have you seen this before, the fundraising pyramid? This is meant to describe, in as easy a way as possible, all of fundraising. And our goal as fundraisers is to do what? Reach into the big wide world and draw in as many first-time gifts. We try to convert non-donors into donors. Reach out and bring people in. Then once we have them, get them to do what? Repeat their gift. Getting them to repeat is as important as bringing them in as a first-time donor. Will we get all first-time donors to repeat a gift? No. That's why we're in a pyramid here. We're getting smaller as we move up. But it's very, very important. And if you don't have volunteers or staff, not only thinking about how do we draw in new donors, but also thinking as creatively about how do we get donors to repeat, you got a problem. You need to be thinking about that. And this ties directly to planned giving. I'm talking about this because it's essential to success in planned giving. More important to get people to repeat than to increase right off the bat. I'd rather somebody repeat their gift 5 years in a row at the same amount before I ever go back and ask them to increase their gift. Are you with me? I want them to get on board and to be a passionate, loyal, regular donor. And then from that pool of repeating, increasing donors, major gifts. And what is a major gift is defined differently per organization, but something extraordinary for your organization. Now, oftentimes those major gifts come from people outside this repeating, loyal, annual giving group. But my point is that the bigger your annual, loyal giving constituency is, the more opportunities and prospects you have for major gift solicitation, okay? So then what's at the top of the pyramid? My favorite place on the pyramid? The planned gift. What you need to do is unlock the power of this pyramid. This is your goal as fundraisers. We are going to unlock the power, and there are secrets in this pyramid, secrets to its effectiveness. The secrets are answers to these questions. What happens to the number of donors as you move up the pyramid? Smaller or larger? Much smaller. I have 150,000 alumni at Ball State. I inherited a 30-year plan giving program with an amazing budget. In higher ed, you know, is a pretty good place to be raising money. How many documented plan gift donors do you think I have? I have about 600 out of 150,000. So you might say, well, Phil, I would have expected more. But no, this is how the numbers work. A very small number at the top of that pyramid. Next question. What's the average size of gift of those plan gift donors? Smaller or larger as you move up the pyramid? Much larger. My 600 donors represents $90 million in expectancies. And quite frankly, if you were to look at the top 20 individual donors in that 600, that'd be like 80% of that 90 million. Now, you might say, well, Phil, why mess with all the other donors? Just focus in on those 20 or a dozen people. Well, what's the problem with major planned giving? They are what? They are, now I'm going to use a Midwest analogy here, right? They are needles in a haystack. We don't know sometimes who they are or where they are. And it's our goal to find those needles in a haystack, right? There are two ways to find needles in a haystack. What are they? What? Bless you. I don't always get that right off the bat. A magnet. Draw those needles to you. What is your magnet? Your mission, your strategic plan, and your good work. That's the ultimate magnet you have. Now, it doesn't do any good if people aren't aware of it. So your magnet is your marketing strategies to kind of articulate and broaden and make people aware of what you do. Your website, speeches at Rotary clubs, you know, whatever it is. By the way, the others, I said there were two. What's the other way to find a needle haystack? Just jump in the haystack and flail around until you get poked, right? Now, that can work for sure. You got to do a lot of flailing. So take that out to major and planned gift donors. You can just plan your days out and go meet as many people as you can and ask them for a major and planned gift. And you know what? I don't think that's a bad idea, but the point is you've got to balance that kind of go out and cold call activity. I think that's good activity, but you can't be exclusively that. That's going to be a piece of what you do. The rest of what you do has to be about creating this good magnet and drawing the people to you so that you can then talk to them about their interests. So it's got to be some of both. What's the nature of the relationship as we move up the fundraising pyramid? Does it become more or less personal? More personal. Now, how many of you have gotten a bequest? Somebody's died and they've left you money in their will or trust or retirement plan or life insurance. I see a lot of hands, okay? Those of you who held up your hands, how many of you would say that that planned gift from the estate would be defined as a major size gift to your organization? You know, however you define major gift. So again, pretty much the same people. Now, of those people who held up their hands to both those questions, how many of you maybe, as you think through the names of those donors, there were some of those donors you didn't know who they were? You got the notice from the probate court and you said, "Who is Mary?" And you ask around the office, "Anybody know who Mary was? You know, we got this bequest, you know, of whatever it was, 10,000, 100,000, but who in the dickens was Mary?" Anybody have that experience? You know, and many of the same. Who was Mary? Who was Mary? Now you might say, "Well, Phil, does that disagree with your statement that the relationship is more personal because we didn't know who Mary was?" What's my answer to that? Mary had a relationship with your mission. She bonded with that mission. She connected so much that she went and had to talk to a lawyer for more than 5 minutes and actually had to pay that lawyer to write a will. But the point is, who is Mary? And what I say to you is, shame on you for not knowing Mary. You should have good plan-giving magnets to draw the Marys to you, to have them ask you or tell you about their planned gifts. They can be confidential. Mary didn't want her name in lights, did she? She didn't want you to count your chickens before they hatched, did she? But you know what? It wouldn't have hurt for you to have at least looked Mary in the eye before she passed and said, "Thank you." Then there also is the problem that maybe Mary, when she described her gift, added a restriction or a designation to that gift that when the lawyer sent you the copy of the will, you said, "Ouch, I'm not sure we can do that." So only if you know Mary ahead of time can you head off problems with any designations or restrictions on the gift. When we try to draw in first-time donors, we got to do mass marketing, right? Billboards, email blasts. You buy lists of names and addresses or get names and addresses from any source you can, neighborhood lists, the phone book, whatever, and you just send stuff out. The most expensive form of fundraising there is. Cost to raise $1 for donor acquisition is the most expensive there is. What's my cost to raise $1 in the planned giving world? It's like 3 cents to raise $1. Top of the pyramid is the least expensive. Fascinating, isn't it? The bigger the gift, the less expensive to raise $1. The smaller the average annual gift, the more expensive to acquire those donors. But once you have those first-time donors, you can now become more personal in your fundraising, right? Because you're capturing their name. You're entering their address in your database, right? You're keeping your databases up to date with addresses as they change, right? You're trying to get email addresses. This database management is really important. And we could talk all day, and you go to seminars about database management and keeping those up to date. You're keeping records of their gifts. Can donors make all types of gifts? Yes. Can the strategies be integrated by the charitable organization? Yes. That's a point I have to make. We should expect our donors to support us at the bottom of the pyramid, making loyal annual gifts every year. There are some of those folks who can maybe and have the capacity for a major gift. We should go to them and ask for a major gift. Also, we can hope that all people, regardless of wealth, can maybe include us in their estate plan, a will, life insurance designation, retirement plan designation. So all of these different kinds of gifts, especially annual gifts and planned gifts, can be considered by everybody. The major outright gift of cash or stock, maybe only a small number of people can do at any given time. But the point is, we don't always know who those people are, so we have to look at all of our potential donors as prospects for all these kinds of gifts. So the case for planned giving is important. And I'm here to tell you, you're not going to be successful in planned giving if there's not someone in your organization that has the word planned giving in their job description. What are the 4 ways we raise money? We have annual gift support through our mailings, our phone calling, our email blasts, number 1. We write for grants from the Community Foundation, other private foundations, corporate sponsorship, grant writing, number 2. We love to plan those special events. Can't have enough of them, can we? They're easy to plan. They raise a lot of money, don't they? So special events, special event planning, number 3. The 4th is major and planned gifts. This individualized kind of stuff. And I'm here to tell you, that's the one that's put off. It's shoved aside quite often. Oftentimes, these other forms of fundraising, the first 3, we kind of get how it's done. You know, we know how to plan out a calendar for a special event, set a budget for it, and we know how to evaluate success. You know, did we make money or lose money? Same thing with our annual mailing program. You know, grant request, we get an application, we go through the protocol, we get a yes or no. All those first 3 types of fundraising, you know, there's a regimen to them that we can get our head around. They're hard work. I'm not saying it's not hard work. It takes creativity. But the major and planned gift fundraising, there's a nuance to it. It's about a relationship with a person, and you're trying to find out from that person their connectivity and what kinds of techniques work for them. You know, there's this wealth transfer going on, you know, trillions of dollars from the World War II to the boomers and the boomers to the next generation. Even in spite of the tough economy, there's still wealth out there. And what you want is for your organization to get its fair share of that intergenerational wealth transfer. Current economy. We're fundraising geniuses at Ball State. We kicked off a $200 million campaign in the fall of 2008, 1 month before the market collapsed. You know, I said, why me? You know, but the minute that happened, I knew what we were up against. And so I met with, we have a dozen or so major gift officers, and I said, we still got to make our proposals to the key people that we're going to ask for a major gift, but be ready. We got to have the planned gift conversation ready to go. Meaning that if they said, well, I can't do 10,000, but I can do 5, the immediate response is, well, would you consider including us in your will for the difference? And you know what? We got a lot of people to say yes to that. And you know what? We can always go back to those people later when the economy turns around and ask them for more cash on the barrelhead. But get the commitment. A lot of people also looked at other assets for giving, and we're going to talk about that as well. So, you know, planned gifts are sometimes the largest gifts possible by many donors, regardless of how much wealth they have. So why not promote these ideas? There's a high correlation to annual giving. There are studies out there that show a high correlation between your loyal annual donors at the bottom of the pyramid and your annual plan givers at the top. You look at your donor list, and if you can identify people who've been giving to you 5 years, 10 years, or more every year, that is your low-hanging fruit to promote plan giving to. Are you with me? There is a high correlation between people who will give to you, even at small dollar amounts, loyally every year, and who will do the planned gift. And if they have capacity for major gifts, there's potential for that too. Planned gifts are often a source of unrestricted gifts. Early in my career, I was in a state of bliss and I didn't even know it. You know, mid-'80s to early '90s, my early career, because I mostly worked with what generation of donors? The World War II generation. And what was their mantra for giving? I love you, I trust you, organization, here is my gift. And it was often very unrestricted. Who am I working with now? My generation, the boomer generation. What's our mantra for giving? I love you, but I'm not sure I trust you. I'm not sure I trust organizations. Let me think of the ways that I can restrict or designate my gift to make sure that you use it the way I want you to use it. So this boomer generation, has created all these explosion, donor advised funds, private foundations, giving circles, venture philanthropy, on and on and on. It's all about me, right? But what I found is, even in light of that restriction, when it comes to maybe a gift from their estate, a willingness to realize, well, I'm not going to be here anymore, so maybe I'll leave it unrestricted. I will trust you, at least at that point. So planned gifts can be the source of your largest unrestricted gifts. Useful for endowment building. A lot of people like the idea of partnering their plan gift from their estate, at least part of it, into an endowment, something that lasts forever, right? And so that's a natural link. And I already said low cost to raise a dollar. So let's talk about the different types of plan gifts, harvesting plan gifts. So we're going to focus right now on this top category, outright gifts, gifts that help now. So the IRA charitable rollover, how does it work? It's for folks age 70 and a half and older only, and it expires December 31. So now we're being a bit of a used car salesman, right? Your flyer has to say this is a time-limited opportunity. You got to get people's attention. They got to get it in by December 31. And the way it works is it's got to be a direct transfer from their IRA account to you. It can't go into their checking or savings account from the IRA and then to you. It's got to come straight from the IRA to you, and they can come one of two ways. They can either directly wire transfer the money to you, a cash wire, or the IRA administrator can cut a check payable to you, the charity, not the donor. Okay? Are you with me? Now, if you don't have the ability to cash wire, what you've got to do is go to your bank or broker. If you have a broker that does your investments or a bank that does your checking and so forth, set up a cash wire account. And then if a donor wants to IRA roll over a gift to you, you give them that cash wiring instructions that your bank or broker gives you. Are you with me? There's a limit of $100,000 per person. Because a husband and wife own IRAs separately by law, they can each give up to $100,000. The donor doesn't get a tax deduction for the gift, but when they wire it to you, it's not taxable to them. Normally, we draw money out of an IRA, we owe income tax on that withdrawal. So folks age 70 and a half have to withdraw money from their IRAs. It's called a required minimum distribution. When you're 70 and a half and older, you got to draw it out. So for a lot of people of that age, they don't want the extra income, and they especially don't want to have to pay the tax on the extra income. So they would just as soon, in many cases, transfer some of it over to you. Up until this opportunity, IRAs and qualified retirement plans were not a source of gifts for charity. Why? Because when people drew the money out, they'd owe income tax on it. Yeah, they could turn around and give you a gift of the cash and get a deduction, but it would kind of wash. It wouldn't be a tax-effective gift. Are you with me? But this IRA charitable rollover is now unlocking the opportunity of IRAs and other qualified retirement plans for gifts to you. So you've got to do this. Now, if a person has another kind of qualified plan other than an IRA, they can set up an IRA account, roll over tax-free from the other qualified plan into the IRA, and then the IRA to you. Their gift can be used for endowment. So you could have them wire it directly at Community Foundation into your endowment fund at the Community Foundation. It can be used to pay pledges. So if they got a pledge, they can pay off pledges. And they can designate that gift. If they want that money to be used for a specific program or purpose of your organization, they can designate it like that. All right? So you have to be a 501c3 for these. So if you're not 501c3, think about options. Now, the Community Foundation's a 501c3, so they could transfer it there for your endowment. Okay, another gift that helps now are charitable endowments. Endowments are perpetual funds. They are meant to last forever. And the beauty of the Community Foundation is they are experts at endowment investing. Your donors may love you to pieces, but when they think of you, they don't think of the best investment minds, available for endowment investing. That's what the Community Foundation is there for you. They have the best investment minds. They have good policies and procedures around how to structure investments forever for you at low cost. Plus, they're able to leverage good investment return because they're a $600 million fund. The bigger you are, the more powerful you are at leveraging better investment returns at lower cost. So why wouldn't you want to partner with them? Endowments are wonderful ways to provide you an ongoing flow of extra money. Wouldn't you like an ongoing flow of extra money for your operating support or for a specific program? Donors can name endowments. If they want a separate endowment to provide support just for one of your programs and name it after grandma or grandpa or mom and dad, they can do that, as long as they meet the minimums of the Community Foundation. The third plan gift that helps now is the charitable lead trust. And quite frankly, that is only attractive for your wealthiest donors. And some of you may have people like that, people who might have wealth of $5 million or more in assets. If you know somebody like that, you need to float the idea of a charitable lead trust to them, because it is a great way for them to save estate taxes. It's a way to pass wealth to their loved ones and help you at the same time by saving taxes. But because of low interest rates right now, the lead trust saves more taxes than ever. It is especially attractive right now. The way the lead trust works is it pays you income. And then at the end of the lead trust term, what's left goes back to the family. So a lead trust is a way to give you income for a period of time, and then the assets in the lead trust goes to the family. The final plan gift that helps now are non-cash gifts, and we're going to spend all afternoon talking about those. And the Michigan tax credit. This is a tax credit for cash gifts as well as food donated in conjunction with a matching contribution by a food retailer or vendor to food banks and homeless shelters. Also, gifts to the endowment at the community foundation qualifies for the Michigan tax credit. My friends, this expires December 31st. They got to get their gift in before December 31st so that they could take advantage of this credit on their tax return for 2011. Are you with me? You can give up to $200, and then you get a credit for $100. Married filing jointly, give up to $400, credit for $200, and then $5,000 limit for gifts from estates and trusts, and businesses on the business income tax return. So corporate sponsors, businesses who give, they can get a credit up to $5,000. You must be a 501c3. You must be located in Michigan with primary purpose for food and shelter in Michigan. So that's gifts that help now. Now I want to spend a few minutes, and we're going to take a break, on gifts that pay income. There are a couple types of plan gifts that pay income. Charitable remainder trusts are like buckets, okay? And a donor makes a gift into that bucket, and there's somebody holding that bucket. It's the trustee. You've heard of the trustee. Trustee holds the trust bucket. It's trustee's job not to spill the bucket, to invest the money of that trust. And the trustee has in his or her other hand, the bucket in one hand, and in the other hand, a ladle. And the trustee dips into that trust bucket every year and gives drinks. That is, it pays income to people identified by the donor to get income from the trust bucket, all right? So it can be the donor, it can be family. Are you with me? So a charitable remainder trust is a trust where a person makes a gift to the trust, and then either the donor or people identified by the donor gets income from the trust. And then who is the other party to this arrangement? You, the charitable organization. When do you receive the assets of the trust? When those getting drinks from the trust bucket actually kick the bucket. That was meant to be funny, I don't know. So the point is, it's a way for a donor to make a gift to you and still give income to himself, herself, and or loved ones for a period of time, either their lifetimes or a term of years, and then at that end of that time, then what's left comes to you. Usually these trust buckets are at least $100,000 or so it's a bigger gift. So these are usually major gift type people. Quite often the money they give to these trusts is not money you would have ever gotten as an outright gift. They're doing the trust as a gift to you because it's able to leverage tax benefits and income for their family, right? This is not money you probably would have ever gotten outright anyway. It's irrevocable. So when they put the money in the trust bucket, they get a tax deduction in the year that they put the money in the bucket. Now, it's not for a full, if they put $100,000 in the bucket, it's not the whole $100,000. You got to subtract away the value of the income interest during the time of the trust. So this is not something that you would manage. Rather, it's something that the donor would set up and manage on his or her own, or would hire people to manage it, but would name you as a beneficiary of it when they kick the bucket. Are you with me? The Treasury Department estimates there's like $150 billion in this country in these trust buckets. So there's a lot out there. The other kind of life income plan is a charitable gift annuity. And the gift annuity is a much more popular technique than the charitable remainder trust. The gift annuity, and I've got a website I'm going to show you here. You can write this down somewhere, www.acga-web.org, www.acga-web.org. Gift annuities are contracts between you and the donor. Donor gives cash, stock, real estate, and in return you give life income payments. This is no small deal. This is a legally binding corporate obligation. So most charities in this country are not in a position to offer gift annuities. The community foundation can offer gift annuities for you, but they have some conditions. You have to have an endowment with them of $100,000. The minimum first gift annuity contract has to be at least $10,000. And at the end of the annuity term, 90% of it will go into your endowment, and 10% of it is an unrestricted gift to help the community foundation. Some of you may be local affiliates of national organizations, and maybe your mothership at the national level will offer gift annuities for you. Church organizations, the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, a lot of local affiliates of nationals, the national might do these for you. But a gift annuity is a fixed payment. So for example, and this organization recommends the rates of return for gift annuities. So look at the rates. You can go on this website, look for the rates. You can see it on the home page. Click to see the rates. For example, if you're 80, your gift annuity rate is 8%. Now you might say, well, how can a charity offer 8% to an 80-year-old? The point and the philosophy and the assumption behind gift annuities is that you're dipping into the original gift amount every year to help meet the payment out. And at the end of the lives of the annuitants, the charity is not expected to have it all at the end. Now, the community foundation does such a good job with their investments, they tend to have it all at the end. But the assumption is that won't be the case. So that's how you're able to offer more than, say, CDs or other fixed investments right now. So gift annuities are very popular for folks who are older, age 65, 70, and above. There's another technique called a deferred annuity where you lock in a payment rate for someone in the future. So if you're age 45, 50, and you lock in a deferred annuity to start paying you income at retirement, say age 65, your annuity rate would be about 8%. So for younger people in their middle years, a deferred annuity is attractive. Let's take a break.